Hello, this video is going to be about discussion of a smart ring. We'll be talking to two different people who have been using that ring for a while now. Personally, I've been using the FITTR Hart Ring. Kapil has been using a FITTR Hart Ring. Komal has been using the Ultrahuman Ring. So, a little bit intro about Kapil. He has been working as an online nutrition and fitness coach with FITTR since 4 years, and he enjoys ultra cringe funny reels. So you need to be aware of that fact just for the sake of it. Talking about Komal, she's a movement coach. She specializes in yoga asana and strength training, and she's also the best person on earth. Hi guys, and finally we are doing this after a very long time. How are you?
Good. It's going well, and I'm excited to talk about this because I've not really spoken about the ring and the trackers I used ever, so it'll be good.
Right. And Kapil, I know you were sick and you have been like delaying this podcast for the last 3 months or so, making excuses and stuff like that. But how are you doing now?
I'm recovering now, and this was not an excuse. You know that,
Yeah.
and I've also sent you my doctor's prescription. So
All
just
right. All right. So let's start with the first question which I had in mind. Why did you pick a smart ring? Kapil, I know you were the one who first went ahead and got a ring and have been using the most for the last half year or so, I believe.
I
So,
think
right. So, how has your experience been with this, and especially why did you particularly go for this product?
so earlier I was using a Fitbit, and that Fitbit was just for a basic step tracking, and it also gave me resting heart rate details and a little sleep details. At that point of time, I was not too invested into tracking so many things. I was just happy tracking my steps. But then when Fitter came up with this ring, I just thought I'd give it a try because initially I remember JC talking about things beyond step count, so heart rate variability and resting heart rate. So I thought I'll just give this a try. The thing that I liked about a smart ring at that time, which kind of made me switch, was I would remove my watch and keep it aside, so it wouldn't track most of my data. That was, I think, one of the starting points. Like, I just wanted a device which would be on me 24/7, which would give me some information. So that's how it started.
Okay. And Komal, what was your purpose or the deciding factor when you just started using a smart ring?
I actually have been using an Apple Watch since a while. This is like a Series 5, so it's been a while that I've been using it. But I never track my sleep because I don't like wearing, like, this watch is big, right? It feels awkward to wear it while sleeping. So I just didn't have any sleep data, and for a long time I just didn't even care because in general I didn't usually have issues for the sleep. But then I started seeing like these aura rings and Whoop band, and talking about their sleep hours and everything. So I was just curious, and it was on my mind to maybe at some point get a ring because I feel like these minimal trackers are like the future. Over time, people want to wear something that's minimal. So I thought that that's a new piece of technology. It'd be good to have. But I mean, full disclosure, I didn't really buy the Ultrahuman ring. It was on my mind that probably I will at some point. But at that point, luckily the brand kind of reached out and they asked me if I want to try it. And I was already curious about it. So I said yes, and I've been wearing it now for about 3, 4 months. But I mainly use it to track my sleep.
Okay.
That is the main use.
Sounds interesting. For me, it was, I would say, couples purchasing decision that sort of edged me. And the tipping point for me was when Rohit Sharma collabed with FITTR and promoted it. So those guys like won the
So
World
I think
Cup.
I'm as influential as Rohit Sharma. You
Yeah,
guys should meet here.
yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense. But
that's
but
for
yeah,
it.
but yeah,
That
like
is for it.
but that makes sense, that switch to a smart ring. For me, I would say I probably used like a small band. I forgot the company's name. It was some Chinese brand that I used to wear as a smartwatch. Basically, they were like very thin band kind of stuff. Their cost was around 3,000 or 2,000, something like that. And I used to just wear that for like a while, 1 2 years or so. But those were inaccurate, and even the steps that they were tracking were like fairly off the usual number that I could see from my smartphone tracking of step count. So the reason why I gave up was the same, because I was not ready to invest in an Apple Watch at that point, but somehow this ring came up and this felt like a much better decision considering the first pointer, which was for me the battery life, which said that it can last almost for a week or so. So among the sensible decisions which I could make of other than Rohit Sharma collaborating with FITTR, though this was one of the reasons why I picked a smart ring. So Komal, what were your first impressions and comparison? Like one comparison you already gave, ki the bulkiness of a smartwatch, the comfort basically, right? But what were your first impressions when you got the ring, the box, and what was that process like for you? Like how did you set it up? What was the process for the Ultrahuman Ring?
With Ultrahuman, they once you make the decision that you want to go for it, you kind of get sent a sizing kit first. And that came pretty early. I was pretty impressed. Like they sent it to my house within like 2 days or something. And they in that box there are like specific rings, of different sizes, and then you kind of have to try which one is there. And there's like a guideline, like it should be comfortable, it should be easily, there should be a little bit of gap. How much they give like a nice guideline. And then once you decide on the size, all you have to do is go to their website and then check like, okay, this is the size that fits me. And then they basically just send that to you in your size. And there are different color. Really like the color options though. There was like silver, gold, or whatever. So it kind of feels like if you wear jewelry, if you go out, then a lot of times Apple Watch does not match your outfit, right? But you can choose a lot of colors but me being me, I just chose black because I think that's safe. But I really like the build. It's super sleek and I think it's really thin. So I've seen a lot of other rings also. Like now, so many have come in the market. So I really like how thin it is. Like it's really nice. And when I first started wearing it, so I do wear it for most time, but because I do a lot of the only thing with ring is that you can't really use it when you're lifting weights. So when I'm doing my strength workouts and stuff, it comes in the way. I don't like it, and then it also gets scratches. That's something they even write that you should be using this during weights. And during yoga, I don't like there to be obstruction when I'm putting it on the floor, so I can't wear it. But what's cool is that the data of my Apple Watch workouts syncs nicely with Ultrahuman. So it's okay that I don't wear it all the time. But that's about it. So the packing, you get a sizing kit, you notify it, and then you select your size, and it was pretty fast. Like I got the whole thing done in a week or so. So it was
Okay.
pretty cool.
All right, Kapil, what was your experience like with the FITTR Ring?
All right. So similar as Komal mentioned, there's like a sizing kit that comes in like 2 to 3 days, after which you would get your ring in about 4 days to 7 days. Now, the thing that I really liked about the ring was that initially I started tracking my sleep, my HRV. Now, in any other situation, I wouldn't have cared too much about how much of deep sleep I'm getting, REM sleep I'm getting. But then eventually, when I just saw that, on an average, the amount of sleep that I'm getting is not sufficient. So I started working towards it. I, consciously reduced my mobile phone usage before sleep, started reading more books, or even changed my sleep time, wake up times to just realize that as I'm trying to, kind of gamify these numbers, improve them, I'm seeing some benefits in how I feel through the entire day, my general energy levels, my workouts, they were going better. So eventually it became a loop wherein I'm trying my best to keep my HRV on the higher side or sleep on the better side. So it's just a marker that I'm tracking to ensure. Now see it, like, these 2-3 numbers cannot completely tell how good I'm feeling or what kind of a workout I'm going to do. But then I've noticed that if I spend a good amount of time, like a month where I have more of those green rings mean like better quality of sleep, better recovery, I'm doing well. In the last 1 week, I had a terrible time because of my pharyngitis, the congestion that I had, so inflammation and congestion that I had, and my sleep numbers went down, and I reduced my workouts, and even on the days when I was going, I just showed up, with lower intensity. I was working out to just keep myself going on, and that's one thing I really like, that these metrics are there. They've always been around, but then you only track it only like once you have it with you, and once you track it right, it's good. And even apart from this week, one of the things was with HRV is that it gives you a good idea about your recovery. So there can be times when everything's right and your HRV starts plummeting. That's kind of a like a sign that you need to take some kind of a day off or reduce your workout intensity. So initially, what I used to do intuitively, now I'm doing it with a little bit of data, and it's helping me. Like I'm not overworking myself. I go for 7 days if I feel like. I take a break when I feel like these numbers are dropping, and if I don't take a break, I also see like the next day my soreness levels going up or my sleep going through the loss. So that's how I'm just playing around with these numbers. I'm pretty happy that in a simple way you can track these.
All right, fair enough. Even with the sizing process that both of you mentioned, it's pretty common. I had a similar experience. You get a guidebook, the different kind of sizes of rings, and they ask you to just wear it for even 1 or 2 nights to see how comfortable it gets by the next morning, as your fingers tend to swell up when you're sleeping. So all these things, I would say, it's quite helpful, and brands offering that regardless of any company, I think it's a smart move to do that, even though it takes a little bit of extra time, but at least you will be like safe from that extra refund ka process, exchange ka process, and all that stuff. And for me, the initial expressions, I would say I was quite surprised at how accurate the readings were at certain points. I wouldn't say they were like accurate on all 10 out of 10 times, but at least 6 or 7 out of 10 times is still a good enough number for me to make sense of the data. Like Kapil even mentioned that he's not obsessing over the data too much, he's also being intuitive about it. So that's a smart way to go on about these numbers, because you can't like 100% rely on this. But yeah, these gives you like a these data gives you like a general direction on where you should be working towards. So I believe that's definitely helpful. Komal, what metrics, like you mentioned that you were tracking sleep with it, but other than sleep, how has your experience been in terms of accuracy for any activity that you do, even the sleep cycle or the sleep metrics, sleep data that you keep tracking, or anything that you noticed it does very well or not so well?
So apart from, so my main objective was sleep, but then there are other metrics, as Kapil said. There's HRV, there's steps also. There's a lot of things that if you're wearing it continuously, you get an insight into. But as I said, I'm not able to wear it all the time continuously. But again, the data keeps syncing from my Apple Watch. That's pretty seamless. But I didn't track HRV before this, right? And it's not a metric. So personally, I don't feel like everyone needs to know all of the data. But when I started looking at HRV, it was fun. It was like, okay, this is interesting. And as Kapil said, like there were things that you were doing already, but then you kind of had a why, like a concrete why, like, okay, I'm feeling very low. And then that would be validated by the ring saying, yeah, you didn't sleep. You slept poorly. Like sometimes I have slept 8 hours, but then it would say poor quality, you know. And I would feel that in my body, and I would be like, yeah, I would know that even without the ring, but maybe I would earlier be like, oh shit, like why am I feeling? Or I would just feel tired and I wouldn't understand. Now I have an answer. Oh, okay, my sleep was full hours, but I didn't sleep well. It was restless, and that can be for many reasons, right? And then you kind of start thinking, what did you do the previous day, or what happened? What's also cool is that the ring once, like I think I had got food poisoning in Jan, and building up towards getting that infection, I was feeling something is off. But I mean, how we are, we just keep pushing. We have things to do or whatever. But it kept like the ring kept alerting me saying potential fever. And I was like, what is it? Like I thought there's something wrong with the ring because I'm like, there's no, I don't have fever. But then there was a full blown fever, the next day. And I was like, oh, okay, I should have taken it easy. And then, so that's very cool. Another thing is like as a woman, though, at least in this ring, you can also track your menstrual cycle. So you can log it like when it starts and stops. And one pattern I noticed, which I wasn't aware of, is I'm very perfect in tracking my cycle because I think it's very important for female health in general. But with the ring, so that was another added thing. Like there's another added tracker that I'm tracking my cycle in. And I noticed a pattern that I didn't before. That is just before, for me, like just before my bleed week starts, is when I feel the lowest. And then once I'm in my menstrual phase, I feel fine. Like I feel my energy coming back. And I noticed that just before that, always my sleep quality is poor. I don't know how it works, but there's something off with my sleep quality. My recovery is really poor and it reflects on the data, even though I do my regular routine. And then I noticed that, oh, okay, so I'm in this, like it tells you you're in your luteal phase, your follicular phase, right? So it tells me that it might be because you're in your luteal phase. And then you don't overthink it and you're like, oh, okay. And then your energy comes back. So it was really cool to see that happening on the data and have that pattern like, okay. And then I already did manage my workouts, compared to my cycle and how I feel low. But because of this, I was able to be more systematic. So I definitely, like, on the days that I'm low, I change up my workouts and I give myself that recovery time, and it goes a long way. So that has been really cool. What's not been cool is, of course, the fact that I would love having a place where I can wear this continuously. But I don't know, like the point. of this when I can't really wear it during my workout. So then it becomes like a sleep tracker for me. You know, it doesn't make sense for me to keep carrying it, taking it off and on. So it would be nice if there's like a ring which I could, or like a minimal tracker that I could actually wear when I'm training and all also. But at this point, this just acts as a tracker when I'm sleeping or when I'm not working out. So that I hope can be improved upon.
Right.
Hopefully, with
I
time.
think in terms of convenience for workouts or activity, the bands usually are a better
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
alternative, right?
yeah. That's why I prefer than the watch. You know, then
Right.
it does a lot of things. Yeah.
Got it. Makes sense. Even with the workouts, I still wear it during my workouts. They've actually given a silicone cover to just use it to avoid the scratches and everything with this
Oh,
fitter.
that's cool.
Yeah, they
That's
did.
cool.
Yeah, so they sent it with the package. It was very smart of them to do, and they even offer if you want to buy more of them, you just have to drop an email and you get more of it at a certain price. I yet to check what the price is, but yeah, that is something which was very cool, which I thought, ki, okay, this is nice. I can try working out. So I've tried. The only part where I get stuck with is the pulling movements. It basically digs
Yeah.
into my finger too hard, especially let's say during the pull-ups or even deadlifts. I've tried even like all the exercises in which I go a little bit intense in. Let's say even swinging on monkey bars is something which I enjoy, but I usually lose that grip because it sort of hurts my finger when I'm trying to swing and just grab onto the next railing. So I usually take it off when I'm trying to do that. It's not like I can't do that, but it's just basically holding me back because I'm scared it will end up injuring my finger. But in pushing movements, I have noticed it to be fairly okay and manageable. I can still like push through. There's not a lot of
That's
pressure,
true.
right?
You can wear it. You can wear it. It's just that the body gets scratches. And
Correct,
if you're
correct.
okay with wearing a scratched up ring, it's fine. But I'm not. I don't want
Right.
to scratch.
I had this initial problem. Like I'm wearing this. I'm using this cover, no, the silicone cover. Just look at this. I scratched it up real bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So later
exactly.
I thought, because I've been using the one like a version before the one that Varnit has. So initially they did not have those silicone covers, but later to purchase one separately. The newer ones that FITTR is sending now, they have a silicone cover, I think, with the existing pack, right?
Right, right.
And then what
I
do you
think
do?
that it made it a little easy.
You still wear them when you're pulling and stuff?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yes.
the same observation now, if I'm doing a lat pull down on a heavy weight, let's say like 60, 70 kilos on the machine, that's the time when I feel a slight pinch. But when I'm just doing pull-ups, it doesn't come too much in the way. But I guess during monkey bars, it might come.
Uh,
Yeah.
so basically when even in the pull-ups, right, body weight are still fine, but when I'm like trying to add on like a dumbbell or a plate or something, right,
Yeah.
that's when it gets or basically holds me back in trying to pull myself up because वहाँ पे थोड़ा सा extra चाहिए that push to go, and this is like acting like a hindrance, so I have to take it off. Another exercise which I remember I was performing barbell shrugs the other day. Usme I was trying to like try out a PR for myself, and that's when I sort of felt that pinch and it just dug into my finger. So I had to take it off. So like, it's all about like basically how comfortable you are. Like if you're doing just a chill workout or just a normal moderate intense session, I think you can still pull it off. And to avoid the scratches again, the silicone cover works really well. I missed wearing it on one day, so my ring is all scratched because I just forgot to put it on. But now I'm like, okay, now it's scratched, so I don't care much about just putting the cover again and again. So yeah, but Kapil, I know among the three of us, you are the one who tracks the most data out of every parameter. So nothing bad about it, but yeah, you have been focusing on every metric that the ring has to offer. What would you say are the good things about the FITTR Hart Ring and not so good things as per your experience over the last 5 to 6 months?
So starting with the good ones, I think HRV tracking, sleep stage tracking, and VO2 max. I've used these the most because step counting is the most basic function that these devices can give. The thing with VO2 max and HRV is that see HRV is nothing but just a balance between your sympathetic and your parasympathetic nervous system. A balance between these two is important because it's a balance between your excitability and how well you can recover and calm. Now, there are a lot of studies which have shown that a good HRV is an indicator of good health, and a poor HRV is also a reasonably good indicator of cardiovascular diseases. So, tracking your HRV and making sure HRV is improving is one of the things I started off with. And where this VO2 max came into picture is we generally focus a lot on lifting weights or basic anaerobic movements, but not a lot of high intense movements or even aerobic activity wherein we'll go in for a cardio or we focus on our runs. Now the thing is that initially when I started, I think my VO2 max was just about 35, 34, 35. And VO2 max is a measure of how efficiently your body can take up oxygen and convert it to energy, utilize it. Higher the VO2 max, healthier your cardiovascular system. And athletes usually have it pretty high, like 50, 60, 70, because they're indulging themselves in high activity and high intensity sports. So I started practicing on sprints and HIITs and skip jumps. Like Komal's videos came quite handy at that time because I wanted to pick up an activity where I could get my heart rate up, and I think jump rope is one of the most fun way to get that done. So I started with those activities and I started tracking. It was just 5-10 minutes of high intense activities, high intensity activities, and then I saw that my HRV number is improving and VO2 max is also improving. Now it's somewhere close to 54, 55, and I think that's one of the best use cases that I've done with the ring, that I have objectively improved my cardiovascular health. And I've just taken out 10 minutes, 10, 12 minutes every single day, use the data and pushed myself a little harder. So I would say that, this HRV, VO2 max to be the most important ones. And even when it comes to sleep tracking, as Komal said, that sometimes you sleep for a longer time, but still you wake up a little tired. So I spotted this pattern wherein I think I'm turning and twisting, moving around a lot. So even though my sleep hours are like 7.5 to 8 hours, my deep sleep was just 1 hour, and 1 hour is very low deep sleep. And I did certain things, like switching on the AC, keeping at a certain temperature, not scrolling through a lot of reels, or not getting too excited about what's to be done today. Basically, calming myself down before sleeping, which helped. My average sleep time, deep sleep time started improving from 60 minutes to 70, 80, 90 minutes. Now it's somewhere between like 1 hour, 50 minutes to 2 hours constantly. And since then, I've been getting good sleep even with 7 to 7.5 hours of sleep. And these are some of the pointers that tracking devices like rings can help. Like you otherwise feel that you're sleeping from 11 to 7, but then most probably you're not sleeping the best. And unless you don't know there's a problem, you can't really work on it. And the problems, I'll tell you honestly, when I started, I think I must be the second or third user to start the Hart Ring. So it was just a beta product in a way. And there were a lot of technical issues initially, but then the support team was good. At that point of time, I think I've gone through 2 replacements because certain hardware issues were there initially. But then, they took all that criticism in good spirit and helped me change my rings and eventually built on that. So now I'm in a position where even I can recommend it to my friends or mentees, and even if there are any issues, like the tech team takes care of it. But I would say that that was the only thing that I had a slight complaint about, that the device had some technical snags at first, but then they worked brilliantly on that. And I think so far now it's pretty good. Like I don't have much to complain about because even my battery life's good. Like 6 to 7 days is a given. What even with the silicone covering, like I'm not worrying too much about scratching it. So I would say more pros than cons, unbiased.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like even with the current pricing and the competition out there, I would say the FITTR Ring is, I would say, decently priced, right, for what it has to offer,
priced.
right?
Yeah.
So that in my personal experience, initially, the first challenge which I experienced was the procurement part. Basically, I ordered when it was not in stock. So I had to wait for almost 2 months to get my hands on the ring. I did get the sizing kit in a reasonably fair time, but the ring took some time to get to my hands, which is fine, which is okay. I wasn't in any rush, but I did get some messages over on social media that people were saying they haven't received their ring, it has been a month or so, which I'm like understanding that even the support team and the people who are overlooking it have announced that there's like a stock inventory problem or something, so they had to like basically order in again in bulk orders or whatever that may be. But I'm glad because all the queries that I had during the process on the delay even were immediately resolved. I was told and informed कि okay, you can expect another 2 weeks or maybe another 10 days or so whenever I try to check on the status. So I was comforted by that part. Considering it's a very new product, they are exploring this line as a fairly new company who's venturing into this space of, let's say, products. Before it was just a service-based company from what I understand, but now they are exploring the hardware side of things to just basically make it better, or basically come a full circle from every area. So that was the first thing which I experienced. Other things would be in terms of difficulty, or let's say shortcoming, would be on the technical part, on the app part, where sometimes I experience that my ring isn't calibrating well. I'm talking about the calibrating part after you have spent even like 1 or 2 months with the ring. Not talking about the initial phase, because initially it does take some time, to 7 to 9 days. They suggest you to just let the ring calibrate with your body and all that stuff. But after even using for, let's say, 1 or 2 months, I did experience certain times. For example, I started an activity to track it, and when I'm trying to end it, it never ended, or maybe it showed up an error or inability to generate a report or something. So I experienced this quite a few times in the initial 3 months of my usage. I think this would be the 5th month of usage as of now. So far it has been refined very well. I would say if the frequency was 7 or 8 times or 10 times in a month, now it would be maybe 3 or 4 times in a month. So that's still progress, but I would say it still needs some more refinement and polishes in terms of the app, say, hardware ka integration wala part. I'm sure they're trying their best. They are like seamlessly working on it, and they have released a lot of new updates as well for this particular ring. So I'm like quite hopeful about what it's going to look like, even with the same product that I have, or even you have, the Hart Ring X1 or the Hart Ring X2. I think that's the model number or the name of these particular products. For me, like you guys have discussed the different parameters that you've been tracking and how it has helped you. For me, I would say steps was never something which I wanted to track, because I know ki I'm fairly active during the day. I'm standing, moving around. It's like an automatic thing. But I did take my time out to verify the step count with a smartphone versus a ring. So I did that experiment where I was just keeping both of them
Oh,
on.
I did that too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I did that. I think I did that for almost 30-40 minutes just to get enough time done, because वो 5-10 minute में you won't make sense of it कि क्या हुआ. It does take some time to just show some real results. So I took that 30 minutes ka buffer, and I tracked using my smartphone versus the ring. I would say it was fairly similar. Maybe difference hoga to 100-150 steps ka, which is still very reasonable enough. I consider that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right? So because your hands are like thoda sa extra moving anyway jab bhi you're walking, so sometimes it may end up catching a 1 or 2 extra step once in a while, which is fine. So based on step count, I would say it was fairly accurate in my experience. The fun part was when I was tracking sleep, because I remember waking up a certain 2 days ki I know ki okay, raat ke 1 a.m. ke around I woke up, my eyes are open, I was just lying in the bed for 1 minute and then slept. Next day I was just checking the stats. I saw ki it tracked that part well around that 1 a.m. ka, because I saw the clock raat ko utke, not on the phone, but just as the room clock, whatever. So that was surprising. Okay, so और सिर्फ 1 से 2 minutes से ज़्यादा I know कि I wasn't up because I slept right away. So but tracking those kind of things very closely to the accurate time is something which surprised me. So that was something fun, and the deep sleep Kapil already covered in details how it affects your overall quality. Other thing which I also compared was in this Hart Ring, which there was SpO2 tracking, right? So I got 2 different brands का oximeter as well to track, and अपना ring को भी track किया. उसमें I found differences. So I believe कि there is something थोड़ा सा range of error in terms of measuring the oxygen या saturation levels का जो था उसमें. So the reason why I say this is क्योंकि जो 2 brands का whatever brands they may be oximeter के, उन दोनों के similar थे, but the ring was always showing a higher number to me. Example, if it was showing 96 or 97 in that oximeter, in the ring it was showing 99 or 100 at times. So that is something which was thoda sa off, or you can say a glitch or whatever that you want to call, just laying it all out, because these are the things that I experienced and tested, and people do keep asking me for the review of the ring, so I wanted to be thorough about it in every sense, however I can. Now talking about the battery life or how convenient it is in terms of usage, stability, strength of the material used. So if you guys can shed your experiences, Komal, you can go first and talk to me about the Ultrahuman ka side of things.
So with Ultrahuman, one thing I want to say is the app is awesome. Like it looks so good, and every time I put up a screenshot from the app, there'll be at least one person will be like, "Oh, what app is this?" Because it looks sexy. I have to say, it looks awesome. So I think the designers have done some amazing work, and it really shows. Like I think it shows that they are passionate about designing this app because it's so sleek and it looks good and it's just so easy to access. So that's really good. One really cool thing in this is that within the app itself, they've tried to create an ecosystem of workouts and breath work exercises. So, for example, like, we have HRV, even in this, we have the heart rate and VO2 max, all of those counters. So, sometimes it's like, it also has like a stress factor. So, it gives you a score, keeping all of these minds into like how stressed you are, how relaxed you are. It has this whole thing where you have a caffeine permissible window, which is really cool
Oh,
because
that's
it's
cool.
like once you wake up, it'll calculate, okay, you should, so that you don't crash after having coffee in the morning. In the afternoon, sometimes you just feel sleepy. So it kind of does not tell you to drink coffee for some time after you wake up. And then it's like your caffeine permissible window is now open. And then at 12, 1-ish to, depending on your metrics, it kind of adapts to that. And it's like your caffeine permissible window is now closing. So after this, if you have coffee, it's going to affect your sleep because it kind of has a data of when you're sleeping, your bedtime, your usual bedtime and stuff, right? So that's really cool because that nudge has helped me because sometimes you feel like, okay, I need to get a pick me up. So I kind of resist from having that coffee later because I'm like, okay, they are saying something and it has had an effect. So you might not think of it, but like the half life of coffee in your system is a lot. And if you're sleeping and you're having coffee at 4 p.m., like some people are more sensitive than the others, right? So if it is having an effect on your sleep, it is something that really helps. So it has really these cool nudges like within the app that you can switch on and off, like whatever you feel like. And in the workouts also, like I've just exploded, and they have these options to do pranayam and also variety of breath work from other cultures also, which as a person who's into yoga asana and yoga in general, I'm usually skeptical about, right? So I kind of like did a few of those and they're really nice. They're really, really beautiful. So if you just have your phone, your ring, you can just look at your phone and do those exercises along. You can also have a lot of articles about workouts, mini workouts, etc. within the app itself. So I really like that. I think the app is very, very comprehensive. So definitely, and a lot of cute, cool nudges. Like it'll tell you your period is going to begin. It'll give you those notifications and stuff also. So that's nice. Another thing I like is whenever I do wear it, for example, I go for a walk. I don't really open the app and track. Okay, I'm going for a walk. It's really annoying to do that, so I don't. I just start walking. So usually with the Apple Watch, it detects like after your heart rate is up for a certain amount of time, and after about you walk 1K, it prompts you like, hey, do you want to start a workout? So you start it on the watch. So I wait for that. With the ring, I don't do anything. I have worn it quite a few times now on my walk, and automatically when you come back and you sync it to the app, it'll tell you, okay, activity detected. And then you kind of be like, okay, is this true or no? And it usually is very accurate. And then you add it, and then you have options, okay, what workout it was. So that's pretty cool. So I don't have to open the app and start a workout. It kind of detects that you're doing something, and then at the end of the day, you can just log what you've done. So that's pretty cool. Battery life is something that like for Ultrahuman, it lasts about 3 days, is what I've seen. So that is something that it does not last for all of the week. But as I said, because maybe I don't use it throughout the day constantly, I do use it like in bits and pieces and during sleep. Maybe sometimes it lasts like 4 days for me, but usually it's 3 days. So at the end of 3 days, it will prompt you like, okay, your battery is going below 30% and it will recommend to charge it. So then you charge it. But it charges really fast, so it doesn't feel sort of like an inconvenience to me. Yeah, that's about it. And strength, like of the body itself, well, like my ring has gone through a lot of rough usage because I'm in general a very clumsy person. Okay, when it like even when I'm sleeping, when I wake up, I sync it to the app, but I'm like in half sleep still, so I'll just take out my watch, like my ring, and just keep it in random places. It's been under my bed, it's been under different places of my house, and it's still fine. The worst thing that I've done to it is that one day, like, I think I put this in my pocket, like my shorts pocket, my night shorts, and then I just put it to wash. I didn't even realize. And then I realized that my ring is missing, and I panicked because I'm like, okay, where is it? Uh, and even there's a tracker on the app, so you can locate where your ring is. Okay, so if you like the Apple Watch, it doesn't play a sound, but it shows you like a map in which it'll show you your ring is like 100 meters away, 50 meters away, or something. So it showed that the ring is very near, which really, like, it was really messing with my mind because I couldn't understand where it is. Turns out it was in my shorts inside the washing machine. It got washed, and by that time, like, I dried it and everything. And then when I got the shorts out and I realized, oh, there's something in the pocket, it was the ring. And I was like, oh shit, it's gone now. Like, it's dead. I charged it, but it's fine actually. Like, it's been a week since it's been washed in the washing machine, and it's been fine. So this has been really through the ringer with a person like me. So I would say that the strength is pretty good. And if you're really clumsy like I am, then it's fine. Like, you don't have to panic if you throw it around, I guess. But don't throw it around.
Right.
Just saying it. But yeah, that's been my experience for all three.
This was Komal's experience with the Ultrahuman Ring. Kapil, what has been your experience along the same parameters of, let's say, the sturdiness, the general build quality? Of course, it will get scratched if we are lifting and everything, but in terms of its structural integrity and the way it functions, the capability of it being waterproof or anything along those lines, we are basically roughing it up. Not intentionally, but let's say your activity is making you experience that. How has your experience been when it comes to the FITTR Hart Ring?
Yeah, so talking about the ring's durability and how sturdy it is, it's a lightweight titanium ring, so I think around 3 grams, and titanium can withstand a lot of force. So even if you're boxing or playing a sport or heavy weightlifting, so I've done all my barbell deadlifts as well. Even when I did not have that silicone ring, it scratched it up, but at no given point of time did I feel that it's denting it or changing the structure. So that way, I think it's good, and even for swimming. So I've taken it on a swim. I think you can go to as deep as 30 meters without it getting affected. So it's good to track your swimming activities as well. So like that, I think the ring has been made quite sturdy, and yeah, it will take a lot of conscious effort to destroy it. I mean, even if the ring falls off, like it's snug, but then even if it falls off or hits a door or so, I don't think it will get damaged so easily. So
Alright.
that way it's pretty good itself. Like that was a concern with my Fitbit because I once cracked an edge of my Fitbit just by ramming it into the door unknowingly.
All right. So this also reminds me of something which Abhi Komal mentioned, right? Ki the UI interface is quite nice in the Ultrahuman. I would say that the FITTR Hart Ring ka jo app hai can go through like a lot of refinements in that area. So
I agree.
Abhi, it does give you the data. The data is accurate. You get all the basic parameters covered, but it's also about how to serve it in a platter, right? How do you want to
That's
appeal
right.
the user, like make it interactive, make it engaging? They are doing it, I'm sure. Like I have also noticed over the last 5 months, उन्होंने काफी चीजें change किया है in that app, within that app. They are also adding like those nudges which Komal mentioned ki
Yeah.
they're introducing those features which would be really nice to have, I would say. So that is something which I feel is missing. I have used the Apple Watch in the past for like max 2 or 3 days, but I could see how tight that ecosystem and that interface is to keep you sort of moving, the reminders and all that stuff. It doesn't feel forced, it doesn't feel like it doesn't overwhelm you basically.
That's
So
right.
it's just that it strikes the very sweet balance of sort of motivating you to just start moving or maybe have a water reminder or something, anything like that, right? So I think the FITTR Hart Ring can benefit out of those refinements, and I would say people should also take this in consideration when they're trying to pick a ring for themselves and what kind of things they would like to have from their smart ring and the whole package around it, because ring is just a hardware, but the software equally matters what it's offering to
That's
them,
true.
right? So that is something which I consider it to be a fair ask from FITTR as well, as in when they develop it, improve it and bring it, and I'm sure they will. I have full confidence
Yeah, I mean,
that.
I've been sending my fair share of suggestions for what can be added, what can be improved, because as I said, I've been using it since March 2024. At that time, their interface was very primitive. I mean, just as a starting point. But then I think they're quite rapid with respect to the developments that they are making. So that gives me a good assurance that, every few months certain features will be added, which will make it comparable with all the other rings in that category. And, as I said, like FITTR started off as just an online coaching company. From that to a transition to a hardware company. Even they have to get the kind of right manpower to make sure that design elements are in place, UX is in place. So, but I think the speed at which they're moving is good.
Right.
And in a couple of months, all these features that we're talking about, like nudges or even, adding exercises, relevant exercise or breath work also, as you said. That's something that I think they're looking forward to integrating. But then I'm sure that we'll be seeing these kind of changes every few months.
Right, fair enough. And also, just to add my 2 cents on the durability factor, I don't think there will be much difference in terms of durability when it comes to structure integrity between the FITTR X1 that you are using versus the X2 that I'm using. More or less, it feels the same, or probably even looks the same, I would say, from all aspects. Only thing which is different is probably the X2 variants are a bit shinier, and the one that you had was more on a matte kind of finish. It's
Okay.
like more of an aesthetic difference. Maybe there would be subtle difference in terms of hardware, but I guess it's all about devices, right? They just keep upgrading hardware with every iteration, with every model. But I think both of them serve the purpose. Plus, I think they don't sell the first version anymore, from what I remember, right? So only the second or the recent one is available. Let's talk about the pricing aspect or the side of things, because that's an important factor to consider when someone is making a purchase, or they would also want something that should last them long enough to sort of get any value or return out of the investment that they're making. So I think the FITTR X2 is somewhere priced around 23,000 if I'm not wrong, or you can correct me if you have a different number in mind.
So there are offers going on, and they are incentivizing like coach clients to like with some offers. So from what I believe, it comes on somewhere around 17 and a half or 18K,
Right.
along with certain discounts in place. I don't know how long those discounts are going to be there, but okay, we can consider somewhere between 18 to 20 to 23K as a range.
Right. So 18,000 से 23,000 का range है. Plus one thing to keep in mind is that the app which comes with it is free to use. उसमें there are no paywalls or
No
right.
subscriptions.
So basically वहाँ पे everything is free, and जो भी data interpretation हो रहा है, whatever reports you generate, all of that, every parameter is basically free. At least in present day जहाँ पे we are making this video. So it has been free for almost a year, but I'm assuming कि maybe down the line there would be a way they probably change it to a paywall, or maybe they won't. It depends on the company, right? Ki what they want to do about it.
What they've communicated so far is that the data will always be free. It's just that if you want to utilize this data, work with a coach, then the coaching aspect is something just like FITTR app. Like how they've kept the app free, just that the coaching aspect is something that you have to pay for. So
Alright,
I think
that sounds fair.
they continue with that way. Then,
Yeah, I mean, I think that will allow more people to just sort of edge towards this particular brand, considering some of the brands do put up a subscription based model for just checking out features. I believe Ultrahuman does that. I'm not sure, but Komal can shed some more light on that part.
With Ultrahuman, I think the actual cost of the ring is between 27 to 30. Depends actually. Depends on what color you're taking it. Like there are different build. The actual hardware build stays the same, but the coating is different. I think I'm not sure, but I think there's like a small difference as far as I remember with the colors. But the app, like the data is like the basic data is free, like sleep, HRV, stress score, HR trends, steps, and workout tracking. All of these nudges, the caffeine permissible, menstrual tracker, all of these. A lot of things are free actually. But there are some trackers, like specialized ones. Like there's even some really cool thing. Like if you're wearing the ring continuously, the amount of hours you're in the sun, or stuff like that. The very specific metabolic score markers. Sometimes you have now Ultrahuman also sells patches, right? Like with the patch that you put in the CGM. So
CGM.
that also that also has a separate tracker on the app itself, so you can pay for that device and then integrate it with your other data, so that is paid. So these specialized tracking, specialized trackers, and they keep coming up with new creative ones, are paid. So if you want that extra data, it's something that you have to pay for. But everything else, like even the breathwork stuff that I spoke about, the workout access, all of that is free. So the main chunk of, like, if you're not a person who really is obsessed with data, you're not really going to pay additional for anything except the ring itself, and the main chunk is free, which I really appreciate, because when I know for a fact that I mean, like, for sure, like, I got this without paying costs, right? But when I was looking up rings, what I discovered is that a lot of other rings in the market, they have a subscription model where you buy the ring, but even for base data, you have to pay a subscription monthly. And I find that, okay, that's good for the brand, but I find that, like, that's a lot. It might be accurate, but are people, like, in the Indian market especially, are you really going to pay for the ring plus pay a subscription for the tracking? That didn't make much sense to me. So this actually I really like. So the cost that you pay for the ring can be thought of as all inclusive for the data that is necessary for most. Actually, that's all.
All right. So like I remember playing I remember paying somewhere around 19K or something for this ring because I didn't have any discounts or anything. I just paid whatever was written on the website. So that's what I got it for. I'm forgetting the exact amount, but somewhere it was in this ballpark only. So considering this, I think the Ultra one is slightly pricier at this point by almost 8 to 9,000. I'm assuming that's the case.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
also you get to see better graphics, better UI, and all those things if you have to consider. So just putting it out here before, like, I'm going to like send this video out to people who are like asking me for the review or feedback for the ring. I mean, even the Heart Ring is good, even the Ultrahuman one is good. It's just about what do you want to do with data and what you're comfortable. Some people do prioritize aesthetics over just basic
But
data
it's not
tracking,
just
right?
it's also experience. Like, FITTR is really new to the game, and Ultrahuman has a lot of smooth interface sort of features because it's been doing this for some time. It's not their first thing
Right.
that they've come up with. They came up with that patch first, and this is what they're obsessed with, like, to get out fitness related products in general. So I think it's also a matter of that they have a huge presence not only in India but now across countries. Like, they are in UAE, they are in the US. So it's everywhere. Like, I've seen people wear Ultrahuman
Right.
across many places I've traveled, but FITTR is still new. So I think that it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
of course, maybe they'll also scale up over time, but I think it's okay to give, like, grace of time even to them,
Right.
and eventually, like, they'll
I,
also come
I,
up.
I
But
would
it's really
say,
nice to see Indian brands in general do this. It's pretty
yeah.
cool. Like,
I
whatever
think
you put on.
Ultrahuman has been doing it for quite some time as well. I think
Why
over
not?
4 years or more, I believe, probably more, I
Yeah.
guess. So definitely they know what they're doing right now. So that makes it easier. But yeah, fittering has been a pleasant experience for me so far. So my next question, and as we like get closer towards the end of this episode, would be, who do you think can benefit from this ring, and who should ideally even consider getting one, and how mandatory or maybe people shouldn't even get considered getting a ring? So I would ask Kapil to go first, and then Komal, you can add on some feedback.
Okay. Okay, so I have a slightly different take on data tracking over here. I wouldn't say that those who are just into sports or athletics would want to track. I would say that people who are in their 40s or mid 40s who are susceptible to a lot of cardio and metabolic disorders could get help from this, because see, they mostly do their reports once in a year, once in 2 years. Numbers are okay, but then there are certain predetermined markers like HRV, which are consistently low. So I get to work with people who are saying in their 40s, their lifestyle isn't the best, they're not working out, they are consuming alcohol regularly, but they're not detected with diabetes or hypertension technically. But then they think that okay, things are fine. I've worked with majority of the people whose HRVs have been like in very poor range, like I would say like in their 20s and 30s, and that's essentially a case where there's some problem with the nervous system, which is determined by some issue, some dysfunction in the organs. Now, in majority of the cases, these people who saw an HRV of say 30, 35, or even in 20s, once they started exercising a little bit, or once they quit alcohol, like I don't make the decision for them. I just give them all the data that there is, and I say that try giving it up, or like try pushing it like adhere or like going without alcohol for like a month and just see how does that feel. And we've seen numbers going from like 20s to 30s, 30s to 40s, even up to 50s, even with 1 month of just staying away from alcohol. So a lot of times these things don't show up immediately in blood markers. HRV numbers can be poor, so it's a sign that things are a little bad. Maybe they start showing up poorly in traditional blood markers, and then maybe the doctors might tell you. So that's a good age group where you can tell whether your body is functioning right or not. Because see, like blood pressure or heart rate, HRV is not like a diagnostic marker, but it gives a good prediction of whether your body is doing well or not. In most cases, people feel like nothing's wrong with us. We can walk, we can jog a bit if needed, and just one odd occasional drink or a little junk food happening, but that's happening on a regular basis. And 40s are a little different. So I would say that population can use some help, because in many cases people only wake up when it's a little late, either when some kind of adverse event has occurred, or doctors directly put them on medications stating that HbA1c is really bad, or blood pressure is really bad, or the cholesterol levels are really bad. So that's a group which could get some kind of an early sign about like or an early wake up call.
Okay. So something along the lines of preventing a lifestyle disorder is where this ring
Yeah, you can
can
say
help,
that.
right?
You can say.
Okay, Komal, what do you think?
I think if you can afford it, if you have extra money laying about and you are thinking of spending it anyway to buy a cool, cute toy, I would suggest people should buy it, especially those who are just, I wouldn't even say it's an age thing. If you have extra money, if you're thinking of buying either a watch or a ring, you should go for it, because I've noticed in the people who I coach or train, even if they are in their 20s or early 30s, mid 30s, whatever the age is, and they're doing office jobs. So basically, the maximum, especially in cities like Mumbai, right, the maximum movement they have is maybe they'll commute to the office, they'll go to the office, they'll sit for longer hours, and then they'll come back, and then that's it. Like some of them are too tired to do anything else, or they are not in the habit of exercising. When you don't track things, as Kapil said in between, sometime back, when you don't know what the problem is, you're never going to solve it. So these devices really give a good nudge, especially because not all of us like X. Like I think we enjoy movement, but I noticed that the people I work with, a lot of them don't, they actively dislike it. They don't like the feeling of working out. They've never been physically active when they were kids, or maybe they've lost that touch, or whatever. They have weird relationship with movement and food, and they are feel stressed, they were shamed into it, whatever. There are so many reasons. So for such people, just having these gentle, like just knowing the numbers in front of you, like for instance, I had done this small activity within my group, like a community that I have, that just tell me your step count, and like that at the end of the month, the person with the highest average step count, like I gave them like a free yoga mat type of thing, right? And just doing that, a lot of them realize they don't walk more beyond the workout that we do together. They don't walk beyond 1500, 2000 steps, and that's actually categorizing you as a sedentary person, right? So even though you are working out, even though you might feel you're going to the gym and oh, I do that at least, that's good. But then you always think, why am I still not losing weight? Why am I still feeling sluggish? Why am I not progressing? You realize you're not moving much, you're not a very active person. So having numbers in front of you, data, how much you're sleeping, even if you're not doing anything for 1 week, just tracking it, I have noticed that by the sixth day, you will be like, oh shit, something needs to change. So then automatically they start making these changes. So I feel like if you can afford to, you have the money for it, I think everyone should try and get a tracker if you can. But I know that this is also like expensive, right? Not everyone can. And there are certain category of people who get overwhelmed by data. Like, for sometimes there are people who might buy it, but they really get shamed. They feel very judged. Like they look at the data and they're like, oh shit, what is this? And they feel guilt.
Yeah.
And because they feel guilt, they will sabotage themselves more. And there are many people like that. They get overwhelmed by data and numbers. And these are the same people who would also not like to measure their food or whatever. It fills them with weirdness. So that's a matter of personal nature. And I've noticed such people are aware of the fact that they are not people who will get excited by data, who will make changes. So for them, sure, like if they feel like if it's going to lead to shame and you know that about yourself, then sure, it's not mandatory. 100% it's not mandatory. but it is definitely a really good accessory to have, because when you know, when only when you're aware of how you're living your life currently, can you make some changes, you know. So I feel everyone can, if they can afford to, they should get it. But of course, it is definitely not mandatory, is what I have to say. That's all.
Right. So you guys almost covered everything that I even wanted to add on. So the only thing which I think is left to even comment on would be that it sort of gamifies things for you, the data that you
Yeah.
see, right? So personally मेरे लिए भी वो काम करता है, even though I know कि if I walk like around 4-5 hours दिन का कैसे भी doing chores or whatever, I'll somehow
Yeah.
reach that 8 से 10,000 वाला mark उसमें based on the speed of walking and all that. But it's a fun thing to do. Even like step counts are also interesting if you know, if you're tracking it, right? कि okay मैंने इस वीक का 10,000 एवरेज कर लिया, और मे बी माई 2 years ago I was just using my smartphone to track my step count. So what I did during in 2022 or 23 was my yearly average came out to be somewhere around 13,000 steps a day, which was like, oh okay, so I should try to beat it next year. So I was able to do that because I had a smartphone. So everyone has a smartphone, but now we're talking if you have that extra cash lying around, if you do have the
Yeah.
luxury to do so, this is a much more convenient, relatively easier, I would say, way to just you don't like even carrying
Yeah.
smartphone also act as a hindrance at times ki I don't want to carry it, it's distracting as well. So I think gamifying the entire process using the data, and I also speak from experience because some of my clients wear that Whoop wala band, right? Some of them wear that, some of them have used rings in the past, some still use smartwatches. Whatever the thing is, the underlying motivation उनके अंदर भी which I sort of detected was that they also get excited with the data which is improving over the weeks या months वाला time.
Yeah.
It could be छोटा सा भी improvement, right? So it sort of lights up their mood. They feel very empowered कि okay, I put in the work, I was active, I ate right, मैंने 2 बार बाहर का मील स्किप किया नहीं गया, I just cooked at home. So all those small things या small actions do count, and I feel कि when you track such kind of data, right, which you are able to with fairly accurate numbers, I think it's worth investing again if you have the extra money, and
Yeah.
especially for the population which Kapil mentioned. Any
Yeah.
other thoughts that you guys have to add on to this?
Oh yeah, I've had a message very recently actually, where I had put up again a screenshot of just, you know, my sleep or whatever, and someone had asked like about the details for the ring and the watch and everything. So I told them exactly what I feel, and I never make recommendations. I'm like, oh, you have to buy it. Like even when Ultrahuman sent me the ring, I was very clear about the fact that I am not going to tell people to buy it, and you can only send it to me, but I'm not going to like tag you guys or, you know, talk about it unless and until I really use it and I genuinely like it, you know. So that is very like very, and that's why I don't accept collabs in general. But this one was something I was actually curious about. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And after using it for 1 month continuously, where I'm like, okay, I really like this and this is why I like it, I started putting up screenshots and I told people that this is what I'm using. But I always tell people like it's their decision. At the end of it, it's not like what I'm telling them to buy, right? But this person who messaged me made a very interesting comment, and I've got this before where one of the things that they asked me was like, "But does have you seen improvement? You know, after wearing it, does it improve it?" And I'm like, a lot of people have this mindset that we are wearing this and things automatically improve. That's not what happens, right? Like I don't know why they think that, but this is not a magic. This is not some wand. You're wearing it to get data. Why things might improve is because you realize, oh, like I am not really doing that much. What are the ways to improve this? And you are the one still taking action. So this is just giving you. I think a lot of people genuinely feel like that you're giving money for this, and suddenly somehow things are transforming. But that's not what's happening at all. So I just want to put it out there that but the action still comes from you. But this makes it good because you cannot like sometimes it's difficult to take action when it's abstract. And when you have like for example you have some your parameters red on the app is when you're like, oh no, like I need to make this green. That really helps. That's all. So if you're feeling like wearing this or wearing a watch will suddenly like transform up magically, that's just not what's happening. And when he asked that, I thought that, oh, there are some people who think this, so I just wanted to clarify. That's not what's happening.
That's a fair addition. Kapil, do you have
Yeah.
any closing thoughts?
Yeah, one interesting use case of this ring is that I think about 8 to 10% of my current mentees use this ring, and since it's a FITTR ring, I have access to their dashboards through their FITTR accounts. Now, earlier it used to be me relying on their what they're reporting, like whether steps were good or sleep was good. Now I have access to all that information, so there are times wherein I'm just browsing through their data and I see that okay, till Friday everything's fine. Suddenly the resting heart rate drops down, I mean goes up, and the heart rate variability drops down. And sometimes just a gentle measure, like if everything's going fine, and then they start mentioning that okay, the weekend was rough, had a little too many drinks or a lot of outside food, but we're not getting good sleep. So the thing is that those who have the ring and who are enrolled, they know that that amount of accountability is going to go up, and there's this
Yeah.
general tendency that they start behaving better, I would say. But then it's not for everyone, as you said. Like not everybody is cool that their data
Exactly.
is going to the coach, and all. So you cannot really lie once a ring is on, and that accountability increases. But so far, I think the clients who've used this, they have taken it in the right spirit, because they also want to make sure that I'm keeping a track on their information, like data, in the right way and guiding them, not just to catch them on the weekends or clean them. It's just that it has helped, and this has helped. In fact, a lot of people quit alcohol, which I found
Oh,
pretty interesting, because they were saying that everything seemed to be going good, but then these numbers are not adding up, and then they realize that okay, they're not feeling the best. It's just that they think they got the best sleep, but then sleep numbers are out there. So sometimes the coaching element is also there, which helps. Now again, these are preliminary numbers. I think when close to 50% of my mentees use the ring, then a better data trend would emerge. But I think it would be mostly positive. Let's see.
Right.
yeah. Oh, wait, one more thing, by the way. So, when you were talking about tracking the alcohol intake and stuff, it is pretty fascinating, right? Like whenever you have alcohol, if you've had alcohol and then you slept with the ring, the evidence is so clear. Like the next day, and then it kind of really like shakes you up, and you're like, oh shit, like that's the impact that it has on the markers. I genuinely think many people don't even know it. They have no idea, and they think once in a while drink is okay, but then if your once in a while is every weekend, that's not really once in a while.
Yeah.
I think it's like your body is in a constant cycle of recovering, not recovering, and that's pretty crazy. So that is really cool. But also, I want to add one more thing. So, see, it's really good to have tracking of metrics like HRV or a broad metric of step count, activity, workout, right? Even VO2. But of course, like many, it's not people really. Sometimes people also get really obsessed with like the calorie count. Like I'll put up a screenshot
Uh,
like a workout or a strength training workout, and someone will be like, "Oh, but that's it. That's how many calories you lost." And I'm like, firstly, a lot of these watches, if you have calorie counting, it's not always accurate. It's actually not
that's right.
accurate, right? Because if you read about calorie measuring, it's a very very intricate control process that you use to measure calories. And secondly, to think that exercise is a way of just punishing yourself or just removing motivation is
Burning
so
calories. Yeah.
a lot of people have this idea, and that's bad. So if you're buying a tracker of any kind for this, please don't, because you have the wrong idea of what it's measuring. And also, now too much tracking is also there in the market where a lot of like people are getting scared of insulin spikes. They'll have a patch of some kind, or even if a lot of these rings have metabolic markers, and they're like, oh, I ate this bread and look at my insulin, and I'm like, dude, insulin is like it will spike. It is a part of digestion, but to be scared of half knowledge is also bad. So I feel like while tracking is good, for example, you're a coach, and it's great that as a coach you can tell your mentees that this is what this trend means. But for the Gen Pop, if you're just measuring and then you're like, oh shit, I'm getting worried about every
Yeah.
single, that is also one downfall of maybe too much tracking. I
Too
want
much
to
tracking.
mention
Yeah. Correct.
Right.
there has to be a middle ground, and there has to be knowledge. Like if you are buying this and if you don't have a coach to talk to, please look it up. Look it up. Try to understand it before getting alarmed. So that is one thing that I don't like about the trend. Even though in general tracking is good, gotta be careful about why you're doing it.
Right.
And that's
Well, that's fair. Basically, what the ring, or I would say any tracking device does, is show you the mirror. What you do
Yeah.
next is up to you, like, and how smartly you use that data. It's not about
that's true.
just doing anything out of a scare, or maybe you saw a spike, or maybe your heart rate is low up, or whatever it might be, your temperatures are up, your stress levels are up. It doesn't mean that you will be able to fix it in one day. It just means that there is something that you need to fix or move towards fixing it. So that's how people
Yeah.
should take these parameters handy and just work their way around. And I'm sure there are like lots of people they can reach out to for help. A lot of even companies they want to buy the rings for, their support team is also equally competent on guiding them how to make that purchase, whether if it's the right fit for you, even though there would be a sales process involved, but you still get some information that you can make that purchase decision on. So just to sum it
Yeah.
up, this ring can be a very smart choice for a lot of people, can help in tracking and sort of motivating you to get better in different parameters however you want to. There is no right pace or the right speed of doing things. It's just that if you start with day one with a certain metric, or you want to improve a certain metric, just give it some time, enough repetitions,
That's right.
and that should be good enough. So you don't have to compare someone else says rings measurements with yours ki okay उन्होंने 1 घंटा workout किया तो this is what their parameters look like, and you end up trying to chase that and
Yeah.
not get there. So I would say just try to keep those things in mind and whatever we have discussed so far. And thank you both of you for joining in today to discuss your experiences and your feedback for the rings.
Thank you
It was
so much
great.
for this. It's so much fun, you know.
Yeah, this was fun.